Okay, I'd like to call the Human Resource Committee meeting to order. All our committee members are present. I'd like to have an approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. So Brian, the first topic is some changes to the week load in the summer.
Yeah, so this idea really generated from office staff. Kind of with the support of their supervisors. With the, really centering on the idea of something that they've seen in other school districts in the area. Is when we get into those quiet times, late June, July, and very beginning of August, there just isn't a lot of traffic. And the idea is, how can we recognize that that we might have a building, or an office open and have one person come, maybe, or none in some cases, and really try to open it up for office staff to try to have some opportunity to use their time off, and or adjust their work schedules. And so the first thing I would make sure we're absolutely clear on is that office staff would still be being paid for work hours completed. So we would not be, having somebody work 32 and pay them for 40, or in the case of administrators, we're not changing their work count. They would either need to adjust the work schedule to get to their 40 hours, use their paid time off, or be at work. But we would just communicate in advance to the public that during summer, that the offices are open regular hours, Mondays to Thursdays. But then once we would get busy again, mid-August, it's normal times again. So that's the concept. I guess just wanted to hear board members' thoughts on that idea.
Oh, I'm really supportive of it, Brian. We heard it at listening session year after year, so I think the staff will really embrace this and appreciate it. My one question is there any consideration for maintenance people, like doing 4-10s and having some flexibility with their schedule? Or do they currently have any flexibility, or have you thought about that?
In terms of the, I guess I'll split it into custodial. So the custodial staff does adjust their work schedule to everybody be shifts to days.
Oh, so there's no night schedule.
Yes.
Okay.
So there is some of that. In terms of a larger scope, what would we be able to do something of this nature for them? I'd want to have probably a larger discussion with John and because again, some of the needs,
Yeah, thank you.
the extended day wouldn't necessarily meet, sort of some of the outdoor work, some of the projects. But again, I don't have a deep understanding to say that I would, that's definitive, but again, you're good. It is a good question because this particular proposal would not adjust anyone's work schedule except for the 12-month administrative assistants are really the only folks that would be receiving adjustment in this idea.
And I really like this for that group. It has come up with in listening sessions with the other group. And I know it won't work across the board. I get, there's different job responsibilities. Anyway, I just would appreciate you at least considering or looking at the other group if there's any way to be more flexible.
Is this what we're looking at for this year, or is it going to go into a policy, or?
It would be this, the idea would be this year, this summer, because again, in May, we could definitely if the board, if you support the idea and the board could take action on it in May, it certainly would give us ample time to make sure the public knows what hours, remind them what hours the buildings are open, what days the buildings are open. And so that there isn't, people aren't showing up thinking they can talk to someone and there might not be someone there.
And that gives us an opportunity to test pilot, see how it goes, if there's any glitches in it before we expand.
And our school buildings have generally been closed on Fridays during the summer. Yes.
I would, the public in, when I say the public, right, I mean, some of it's school connected public, some of it's straight public. They really continue to still use the buildings. They're very low traffic on Fridays generally, but they are still available. This would merely be the office not being open. I mean, it would still, staff would have badge access. Events could still be scheduled. There are typically very few. Summer school operates Mondays to Thursdays. In the mornings, afternoons, the buildings stay open, offices stay open, and then Fridays, this would just, folks might be in there, but this doesn't guarantee that there would be somebody in there. Which does stress our smaller buildings, where there's only 2 people typically working in the months of mid-June to July and August, early August. Like, then it becomes someone is staying back, which makes it hard to take time off.
Right, I would make the motion of moving this forward to the board.
You want to second that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next is just kind of the continuation of the topic we've been talking about the last couple meetings with a little bit of adjustment. Really centered on the fact that we still have not heard any information from the state beyond the governor's proposal. And we had gotten the feedback, or the Republican leaders of the legislature shared that was not a format that they were going to use. They were going to come with their own proposal, and we've not seen that yet. And so knowing that the board wants, typically, it's very important to them to have the most information that they can have before we make a decision. We're just proposing that we would push the wage decision for hourly employees and potentially admin and admin support back to June. With the idea that at some point the legislature's got to share what the Republican leaders have to share what they're thinking. We keep thinking it's coming soon and it hasn't, but it's May. it's coming up soon. They got to get it out pretty quick. And so, this I just adjusted the timelines. If we talk this particular subject, so June would now have the approval of 23-24 wage increases. We have talked and looked at costing for admin support and hourly staff. We could certainly break out any of those. The one we spent most time on is hourly staff, obviously. That's the one that's really key to having adjustments made prior to July 1st. Others are contracted, and while it's great to have the first paycheck be correct, it's an easier fix on a back pay process for contracts than it is for hourly staff. And so we would propose waiting till June. Just as an update, continuing to work on the 22-23 internal and market-based wage adjustments with the teaching staff group. Right now in the data gathering and about to present that information back to them in the next couple of weeks for further discussion. Once that finalizes, we bring that back to this committee for your review, and then to the full board for their consideration in June. The attachment is just the same costing information that we had shared in previous months.
So this is just for our information.
Yeah, it's really just to keep it going, because originally, the timeline adjusted, originally, we talked about in May. Approving wage increases
Yeah.
for those areas, we're just pushing it back now. You know, with the idea, and I'm learning that. The audience of our recordings is not the thousands of people that I thought it might be. But for anyone that is listening, I would say that the reason we're pushing it back is because our goal is as an employer to give the best package we can give to our employees. And the more we know, the better we can figure out what that best package is. And so that's, again, no other reason beyond, we hope that we can do the best we can. And what we have as a placeholder at 7.5 is based on estimates. And that estimate could get better. And we're hopeful it does. But certainly it is an exposure, and we've got to make sure that we're not making a decision that's not financially wise. So that's kind of why it's being prolonged at this point.
Okay. So do we want to have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
So moved.
A second. So all in favor? Aye.